I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
Amen.
Okay, roll call, please.
Sam Schmidt,
Present.
Scott Steger,
Present.
Mark Foley,
Here.
Marie Mills Bennett,
Here.
Bobo Famey,
I'm here.
Lance Green,
Is here.
Thomas Jordan.
Here.
Full house tonight. I like it. Consideration of minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving on. Case number PRZA-24-0005, MDA Amendment, First Amendment to the River Yard Master Development Agreement. Can I get a motion?
I move we approve case number PRZA-24-0005.
Second.
Pick one.
We're all very excited tonight.
Yeah. Wow.
Just
Just can't wait.
All right, Tim.
Good to go?
Hmm?
I said good to go?
Yeah, I'm good,
Okay.
thanks. Appreciate that.
All right, Tim Bourbon, Community Development. The following is a request to amend the River Yard MDA by the applicant. What this would do would establish the framework to develop interim uses on that property while we're going through the process of development of plans, building plans, the review, and also could remain there too while they are beginning the early stage of construction on that site then. As indicated there, we've listed what those interim uses could be. Also, to the MDA provides some flexibility in terms of how this is designed. This is not one that we want to make look like a development that's on Dunlawn. So we wrote in there some flexibility. So we have there as staff in terms of parking lot design. It's going to be gravel, shell, probably some wheel stops with timbers in, as is there versus a paved parking lot then. So without knowing what those all are as we're developing this project, we wrote that flexibility in here for staff to be able to approve those because again, it's interim uses. It will have to require with all ADA, building code, and fire life safety issues. So those will still be met as we move forward here. Also too, in order to basically move this project along, as the city can help, we basically waive the development fees there in terms of building permit or site plan applications there. So that's also spelled out in there. And then finally, it establishes the process for what we're going to do through this. So if this amendment would be approved, the next step is, since it's city property still, there is that we would do, the applicant Bristol would apply for a license agreement that would go before council on second reading of this MDA, which would have the concept plan of how they want to lay this project out. It wasn't prepared when we prepared this item, but the representative of the applicant does have a conceptual plan to kind of show you what this layout could potentially look like on the property then. So I'll let Jessica speak more to that then when she gets up to present then. Staff is recommending approval of the MDA. Here for any questions, and again, the applicant is here with more of kind of what they're proposing to do and a little bit more detail on the request then.
Any initial questions for Tim's? Dan?
Not at this time.
Scott?
Not at this time.
Mark?
Yes, I do. You talked about bringing fire to make sure that we have fire hydrants and everything else there. Is there water to the site now, or are you going to have to bring water to it?
Yeah, there's water to the site. There's the old Parks and Rec building is kind of where they're looking to go to.
Okay, so you're going to just bring the water off of that for the fire hydrants, correct?
There's fire hydrants there because of the structures there. So
Okay.
yeah.
So we already have that. And we're not going to worry about wastewater or anything like that as far as stormwater?
I mean, stormwater, basically there might be some grading there, but most likely we're trying to impervious
Okay.
as much as possible and avoid any type of pavement at all there, just
Okay.
to keep it there. But I think basically this can improve. Our next step is to do the design work where that would be carefully looked at, but the intent is to have those code requirements be able to be modified or waived in order to reduce the infrastructure cost as much as possible to allow this project to move forward and be also move forward quickly too, because we want to get this up and running as soon as possible.
Okay.
Tom?
Yeah, a couple questions. So, this is all city-owned property,
This is
correct?
currently all city-owned property right now.
Bristol doesn't own any of it right
Though
now.
they have a contract to purchase it from us.
Correct, but they don't own it now.
They do not own it now.
So, who is the entity that would come to the city and say, I want to put in a beer garden?
That would be basically whoever Bristol, if Bristol would do that, or if Bristol has a private, really, with another vendor there. They are working with some local people there to basically provide those interim uses. So that'd be more of an issue for Bristol and those private individuals to work out there to bring that use here.
So Bristol will essentially get a license
License agreement to use the property.
to be able to use the property that the city owns.
Right. And
And
will
then
have a
they
separate-
have the exclusive right to allow other individuals to come in to do this?
Yes.
With the approval of
With-
meeting the code as far as the
Yes,
city's
we're
concerned?
approving the project there, but they can go ahead and find the vendors. Like I said, if they want to do food truck court then,
So-
they would get the food truck vendors here.
So if they want to do a beer garden, Bristol doesn't have to pay anything to the city to get that going. Is that right?
Right,
There's
they
no
would be,
fees.
this would waive the building permit fees, which they would typically have to provide there, but they would be responsible for putting all the infrastructure in place for that beer garden.
And so what happens, so let's say we put up a beer garden and we put up a canoe and kayak rental facility, or I say, they put up the beer garden, they put up a kayak rental facility, they put in a brewery. Do we get any taxes off of this, or is it still untaxed because it's city-owned property?
It'd be city-owned properties, I don't think we get taxes. Again, though, this is not for a long period of time, this is probably
This is
for,
like special event kind of stuff.
Well, no, it's not
1-2
really
years.
special event, it's
And also too,
interim.
though, we do get the ability to basically bring people down, activate the waterfront, which hasn't been down there in 30 years, that the
Yeah.
city has owned the property and hasn't collected taxes on it. So this is all basically a way to get people interested in the property, get them down to the waterfront, and that, is what, we want to work to be those interim uses. I mean,
And
if they don't do anything on it, then it sits there and we don't get taxes on it anyways then, so.
Anyway, I get that, but they're obviously able to generate some, I would assume, some sort of income from getting these folks in and having people down there. I assume there's going to be, they have the right to charge somebody to
Yes.
use that, they're our property. Okay, that's all I've got for you right now, thanks, Tim.
Lance?
Yeah, see, this is like a double-edged sword here for me. It's like we want to bring somebody down there, but the first thing I'll ask is, okay, it's city-owned property, and we're going to give them a licensing agreement, so they have to hold all the insurance and all the liability for all that stuff that happens on city property, yes?
Correct, that's what, in any type of license agreement, you're required to have the insurance then, that's a requirement then.
So I guess I'm visioning that you're going to go out there, and are they going to go out there and pave a little road through there so that the beer trucks are just off of the paved path, or is this going to be, because my concern about this is just the timeline of it all. And okay, we go out there and we do this, and we're putting in all this temporary stuff for this in anticipation of this project coming down the road. And so I'm worried about timeline, about going in on city property and doing improvements or adding any improvements to something that's going to be torn down shortly thereof.
I mean, we can show the graphic here, but the improvements that they're proposing to do, and go ahead and just pull it up here then, is very limited to the area where the recreation building is right now. That would stay as is. As you can see, the improvements are basically mainly just simple grading, established parking spaces. In this area right here is where you have few food trucks set up here, grass parking area here, which is not much at all then. So really the improvements we're talking about essentially is removal of trees, grading, flatten the area out, bringing some surfaces such as shell,
And they're
gravel.
doing all of this.
They'll be required to basically do these improvements then.
And they're doing the electrical requirement that is needed.
They will submit building permits to do these improvements and will be required to do that then. Now again, the life safety issue with the electrical then as needed. We put in there, in the NDA, I think it states that you have to provide the electrical service for food trucks. That way we don't have generators running out there then.
So I guess my only other thing would be is, why do we need to do it on the parcel that's across the street and the parcel that's behind the fish? Why can't they just focus on the main space and let's not do the two areas across the street? Because I don't know what that's going to benefit anybody.
We're trying to utilize basically the restrooms that are in the bathroom, or the rec building there, because we have to have restrooms there. We have to have ADA restrooms. That already has it then. So the rec building gives us restrooms. The rec building also gives them a place to basically put the yard games, stuff like that for storage there. Also too, at this location, it allows us to essentially close off that segment of the road from where Herbert and Halifax come, and the trail exists there. That can be closed off. That way you can kind of walk from here to here, enjoy the waterfront then. So this position allows us to really kind of focus it all in that one area without having to worry about people crossing the road for traffic.
All right, so what about the spot across the street then?
That's going to be a volleyball court, sand volleyball court then. So that would be, go over there, play sand volleyball court. But what we wanted to have was where the food trucks were, the entertainment, the stage there, that'll all be concentrated in that one area. That way you're not going across from the road. We had looked
I
at
just don't want to be, I don't want, again, city-owned property and we're going back and forth across US 1.
not US 1, it's
I guess
That's
one.
Herbert Street,
Herbert Street.
Halifax.
The river's right there.
No,
I mean, we got people that walk down Halifax Drive right
No,
now.
that piece, you're talking about
To the
the
trail.
old art house.
I'm talking about the old art house.
That was put in. That's put in there. That
was a
property,
picture.
just in case if there's something for basically we had talked about, some type of signage to basically direct people down here.
I got you.
We included the art house one because the question came us: can we put signage at the intersection of Herbert and Ridgewood? We don't own the property at the intersection on where Duncan and the dentist office is. There's not enough room in the right of way to safely put signage there. So we threw that in there at the last minute because that might be an opportunity for us to put some signage there to direct people down here for that is. That's why Art House property was put in.
Okay, all right, that's all I got right now.
Again, we didn't want to basically leave something out and then be like here 2 months later, go, oh, we forgot that and have to go back through the process to amend it. So we tried to cast the net wide on here with the MDA amendment, and that license agreement then will refine it down to what it's going to be for the approval.
Okay.
This sounds very much like a lease, and I was kind of curious why we didn't give them a lease with an option if they planned to do something like that. Under the lease, they would have full responsibility for everything that would go along with that. I understand what you're doing, and I see the benefit to it. I don't have any qualms with this. Has this gone through CRA? Do they approve this before we see it, or how does that work?
There'll be a joint CRA and a city council meeting,
Yeah.
probably in August. They will vote on it.
It'll be subsequent to.
Yeah, I believe they also
Okay.
have to do on the license agreement too, since some of the property is CRA. So
Oh.
the CRA will be seeing this after you guys do.
So when do they plan to start on it?
I think basically once we get this approved, is the intent is
Tomorrow?
to get moving there. So, well,
Okay.
hopefully late August is when we get started on this because we'll go through council in August then.
Well, I see it as I think it's a pretty cool idea. It's gonna bring traffic, it's gonna bring more attention to that area, and it kind of kickstart what they're planning to do. I understand their logic, plus, deferring costs. That's important as well. I don't have any heartburn over it.
Tom?
Can you put up the conceptual plan again, please?
Oh,
Concept plan that we have
Yeah,
there?
sorry, I thought.
Whoever has the button.
Oh, I guess we gotta wait for the back. There it comes.
There you go.
I thought it's on my screen, so I was like,
So something I've learned over the years doing this is a concept plan, right? This is just an idea. Doesn't mean any of this could happen. It means it might happen. That's their idea to happen, but we could have nothing down there for months or years. And it wouldn't have to, when they start coming off out of the ground or up off the ground, it could look completely different. Is that right?
I mean,
Nothing says in writing that there's going to be a volleyball court there.
that would be when the license agreement comes through here, which we are actually working on that right now, which identifies that then.
Okay, and they could just as easily go down to the corner of Ridgewood and Dunlawton and do something down there.
They potentially could do that too. This is the way that agreement sets up, is the
Right.
property that.
And they could
sits
do
there.
something over on the old art house property. And so are they have access to building, in this design here, it's the concept, it's the existing building, it's the old adult activity center, I think?
Yeah,
That's city-owned building.
that's city-owned building.
So they have access to it free of charge? They have no cost involved in using our facility?
But they have to do any type of improvements on there that they eventually get to have then.
And who owns those improvements then? If nothing happens, if they never purchase these acres, who owns the
That's part of the
improvement?
license agreement, we could have them remove it, or we could basically keep the improvements in.
Generally, that goes to the owner, the seller.
I mean, they're too not looking to put in massive improvements into that building. They understand that the intent is to have that building demolished in a few, there. So the idea is they basically get, it's like these pop-up parks,
Right.
pop up, in buildings that you see. It's like you walk into an open space and they have the small coffee shop there, portable tables and a lot of, portable furniture and stuff like that is what they intend to do because they want to put it in there and they want to take it out as soon as possible and then put it in the permanent location.
Right. And there's
This
no,
also too allows them to test out kind of tenants potentially for the rest of the project then to see, does this tenant work here? No, it doesn't. So basically it allows kind of the testing for the project too as to what uses, what kind of entertainment, what type of food kind of works there. And you don't know, some of your tenants in this project could come from this project.
and there's no deadline on when this interim use could end, right?
We left it flexible there because like we said, if it goes under construction on the south end of the project and this could remain open for a few months,
Right.
we'd want to do that because, we're hoping that basically this gets a good following and we just don't want to cut it off once construction starts far at the south end when it could remain for 2 or 3 months. I think we wrote in there as long as there's safe conditions can be provided for the people going to this, it can be going, this could operate still while construction is ongoing.
Okay, thanks.
So,
Um,
can I ask, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say, my only question was, can we maybe get ahead of the game a little bit? I realize it's not US 1, but it is Herbert Street in Halifax, which Herbert Street, people fly down that road. Is there a way we can put in some sort of crosswalk, flashing lights, something to make sure that we're attempting for people to cross the
Yes.
street carefully and safely? I'd like to see that included in this, but other than that.
And this concept plan, basically this drawing will be reviewed by staff. Basically, it's
Okay.
been recently prepared, so those comments will come out. We just wanted to get you something you visually see where the general idea for putting this would be there. But that's, something we could, put in there and try to visually get that traffic to slow down on Herbert Street.
Yeah, I definitely think that's something. Just, I'm on the west side and it's something that's always an afterthought. Nobody thinks about it until somebody gets hit. And then all of a sudden you need a crosswalk. So maybe we can get ahead of that a little bit. Go ahead, Stan.
And this was also, they were talking about other temporary uses, could be like a Christmas tree lot, since ours is now Del Taco.
Wow.
Well, where it's always been, it's not anymore.
That's true.
Yes, we can do Christmas trees
I
there.
don't know, go into competition with the Methodist Church on pumpkins or something like that. So that's really up to Bristol at that point in time.
Yeah, we didn't want to have competition with pumpkins. So that
Yeah, I
was
was
not our
gonna say.
vision.
Might not want to start off your
Like a
neighbors
fire
with a
cover.
big fight.
So, want to hear from the applicant?
Yes.
Let's do it.
She doesn't get to clock in until she speaks anyway.
That's true, that's true.
It's not, I do get paid for sitting.
Oh.
For the record, Jessica Gallo, Law Firm, 1 Daytona Boulevard. We changed offices, so we're in the IMC
That was
building.
There you go.
Yeah, I say it's shorter now, but I talk about it, so then it's just as long. Just a quick intro here in terms of what we're looking at. I think Tim hit the key points of the MDA amendment. I do want to reiterate that we're not revising the timing in that MDA. So the MDA has always said that the first phase of development will come online within 48 months of closing under the purchase and sale agreement with the city. And so I think the intent, and it does tie into kind of that tax valuation piece, is right now I think the purchase and sale agreement has, a site plan review around November, end of the year, kind of closing contemplated. If anything changed there, it would be, the commission review. But while they're going through that process, we've wanted to see, and I think the city has for years, that riverfront activation, some activity down here and what that looks like. And we had the idea come forward to the developer and they said, we'd love to work and see how this could operate on the site. There is in the license agreement contemplated a nominal license fee. That's typical of the city license agreements. I will say that city staff has not had a chance to review the draft license agreement we put together. And so that will be outlined and would come before the city for review. But on taxation, the key point is that even if they close and they say that the PSA currently has it, if this is established, the MDA does a great thing that says it can continue, right, as long as those safe conditions are there. So then this temporary activity could continue on as a privately owned piece of property that would then be taxed as well. So it's just establishing that under the zoning perspective. On the concept plan, like Tim said, this is new. It may shift a little bit more as it goes through staff review and as that license agreement comes forward, but we wanted to give you an idea of what we're contemplating here. So you can see it has that riverfront activation along Halifax. Then you've got the food truck court centered around that existing building for the bathrooms. Also to allow a license premise in terms of temporary alcohol sales or anything like that for concert activities. Having a building to tie that into makes sense. Having that item 14 there on the screen as kind of a gazebo, again, not looking into too heavy of a construction here, but somewhere where there's a shaded structure so you could have live music and entertainment in that little corridor. Concept includes the sand volleyball court, which I think is a nice interplay with the river. And then, like Tim said, on the parking, mostly contemplating shell here so that you don't have a large stormwater need, and it's easy to kind of shift into that development program once it's ready. And so this is the initial concept. We're really looking at how do we activate it, how do we get that community engagement that they kind of brought forward in their first presentation for this site, knowing that we've got financing to line up and all those other things with the overall project and how that looks. And so I think it's a great interim use. It is similar in structure, at least what we're proposing here, to other license agreements the city has entered into over time. And we're here to answer any questions.
Start with you, Bo.
No,
Lance?
I'm gonna be the negative Nelly on this one, because I've been in business a long time and I've been sued a bunch. I wanna know that there's a separation in liability between the city and whoever does what on this property, correct?
There is, under the
So the
license
city is
agreement.
absolutely harmless and held harmless on all of this, but yet they're using our building, they're using our little building, but all this is
Our streets.
insured. All this is insured, because you're out there serving beer, and again, I just look at the liability to the city. That's my main concern. I'm great with the concept. I agree with some activity, but I look at the big picture versus, are we gonna be sued for something that's happening? Are we going to be insured on this?
Yeah, so the license agreement and the MDA contemplates insurance requirements and that, but the license agreement would outline both the minimum insurance requirements that the city would need to have proof of before anything started, and also indemnification. So we can't, of course, stop someone from suing the city, and then you have some sovereign immunity and all of that, which Shannon can weigh in on more than me,
Okay.
but then we would indemnify the city.
That's my big thing. Again, concept-wise, I understand. We're trying to buy a little time and give the residents something that they deserve. But at the same time, I want to make sure we are protected.
Sure.
I'm good.
You good?
Mhm.
I'm good. Did good job.
Scott?
No, I think it's a great project, and I did have the insurance concerns, but as long as we're making sure that there's as covered as we can be, much like Lance, I have been sued for things I didn't do.
Yeah. Lawyers.
Oh, yeah.
Your ears. Stan?
Yeah, I have nothing.
There's no accounting questions there, Stan.
No, I thought I read in here the insurance agreement, because the electrical is specified in page 3, paragraph 4. And I thought I read here
I don't think it outlines policy
I
limits,
didn't
that would be in the license,
Right.
but there's
Oh,
a
yeah.
reference
It
to
didn't
insurance.
That it
specify,
would
but
have
it's
it.
at our
Yep.
discretion. We
No, it just says
hammer it out
on
in our license.
4 on paragraph 8, it says the requisite insurance coverage as determined by the city will be required to be provided to the city, with the city named as additional insured. So it's referenced in here.
Yep, and it says
That's
that we
what I
will
saw.
indemnify.
I thought I saw it, I was looking for the thing again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And on the back of that, that also includes if the river floods the building, floods the property,
Yeah.
hurricane, your insurance will cover that, not the city.
I say, I
The
think
beer
it's
truck gets
general-
sucked away in the wind.
Beer truck, yeah. Tornado and the beer truck ends up strangely in Lance's yard.
Junko's.
Hang on, it's got a trail hitch on
Junko's
it.
yard, that's true.
Junko's yard.
It would be Junko's yard. So just making sure that all that's covered as well. I have no other questions. I think we're
It's great that
good.
we're using for something.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's get it going.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I do have another question for Tim. Time is gonna be of the essence, obviously, for them to get these vendors in place and get them set up. Is there any kind of fast tracking available for them to get permitting done? I mean, is
Yes,
this
we-
gonna be the
That's what's
normal
included.
process?
No, we are prepared to fast track whatever permits come for this here to move forward. I think, like this thing started about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And we've got to the planning commission, we gotta go to city council here in August. So I think you can see from both staff and the applicant, we are moving this through as quick as possible.
So nothing out of the ordinary.
Nothing out of the ordinary for a Riverwalk project, it is expedited review.
So thanks for letting us have a meeting this month.
When did-
Touch and go until a little bit there.
When does the CRA meet? Every council meetings, right? Is it every,
There's typically 2 set meetings there, but then basically whenever we need to have the CRA meeting, we call a CRA meeting.
we don't have
Yeah.
a fixed meeting?
We have a fixed one, I think, on August 6th for the budgets, and
Yeah.
this item will
Maybe
be on.
Tracy can send
This,
those
yeah,
schedule.
this item will probably go on I think it's August 21st, which is a Wednesday night, to the CRA meeting and the city council meeting.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
The only other discussion I've got is looking at it from the standpoint of who's making, not for you, Tim, just general discussion for the board. You know, I look at some of the other lots we have, property owners around this area, and there's some people who've made some significant investment on their property that are way ahead of where this project is. And they've made their own capital investment to do that. Across the street, around the corner, and this is the second major developer that's said, oh, we're gonna do all these great things, and how many decades are we into this now? And so now we're basically saying, well, we really want people to go down there, so I'll tell you what, we're gonna let you have the property that you haven't paid for yet, and you can put investment in there to do whatever to get these interim projects and businesses going. But I just find it frustrating that we've had this property for decades and we still have no actual investment in it, except for the city park. The city did a wonderful job, and who showed up there? Everybody shows up there. It's a great park. It's used by hundreds of people every day. That event lawn is great. But again, we have a private developer who's not made any investment in the actual property yet. And we're saying, go ahead, here's a license to go do some stuff and see what happens. And we still don't have a big developer. My opinion, just where I'm at. I think it's a great project. I think it's a great idea to get people down there. We've shown people will come down there for something to do. So my point is, let's get somebody to actually make an investment in there.
Well, on the other side of that too, is if we don't make concessions, that property may sit like that for years. You know,
We've made so many concessions over the years.
I know.
Time after time, for developers to say, we're gonna give you the world, and we still have empty and dirt.
Well,
These guys have
It may
made
happen
some
again.
pretty significant outlays though, just in the soil testing and the plans they've had and everything else. I mean, it's nothing we can get our hands on,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just stuff that leads into their intention to buy. We've got
They
the
made
agreement
I mean, they made,
for the land buy.
they
So-
purchased a piece of property already, basically the warehouse property next to the mower shop. They have contracts on 4 properties. They basically have paid to extend those contracts there. So while you don't see it out there in terms of a structure and stuff like that, then they have been putting money into this project to basically move it forward there.
I get that. I
To
I
solidify
know
their
that.
purchase.
And I mean, I think
And
if
it's
you looked at the
it's not
outline of
small
our
amounts
property,
either.
it doesn't really give a good overall project. You need those out parcel projects that we're trying
Absolutely.
to acquire.
Sure.
And those out parcels that they tried to acquire, those owners went through the same history that you went through, and they were difficult to get them under contracts because of what they were promised to. So
Yep.
that has been done too, in terms of, that was, Bristol on that side then. So I think everyone wants this thing done, and I think, from the city standpoint, we're just looking at ways to basically, like you said, yes, bring people there, but also too, to try to move this project forward, while we know there's gonna be a wait time, to basically give this residents something to use.
I get it.
Tim, I don't know what the contract says, but oh, never mind. I'm just opening another one.
Yeah, don't. I'm hungry, Bo, I'm hungry.
That's why you need the food trucks.
Yeah, see, I need a food truck.
Roll one of them up here.
Thursday,
so let's make sure they have beer.
Well, the next meeting there.
Yeah. Any other discussion, any other comments for Tim before I call for public comments? Nope. Public comments. Anybody in the public have anything they'd like to say on this topic? Come on up, Robert.
Robert.
Just pushed him out of your way.
Commission members, Robert Reinhagen, 1425 Dexter Drive, Port Orange. I see this as a gimmick by Bristol to just earn some money while they try to figure out how they're going to finance the project, if they're even going to finance it. And I just envision this parade of traveling carnivals coming through. And, you know, the city can do that themselves. They don't need Bristol to do that. And I'm thinking, you know, we're going to wait a couple months, and then they're going to move the purchase date back again. And I say no, forget it. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Robert.
Robert. Anything else? Anyone else? No? All right, if there's no other comments.
Well, I do. Again, so I'm going to kind of echo Tom here, and I see this as just a stall tactic again, that the citizens are getting just bumped and bumped and bumped. And, you know, I agree that we do need something down there for the citizens, because it is city-owned property that should be being used by the residents, one way or the other. But I just look at this as just another non-ending thing that's gonna just keep stalling and stalling. And, you know, like I said, this is a double-edged sword for me, but like I said, I'm worried about when. And again, you know, we understand Bristol's invested money. That's called due diligence, as I look at it. Okay, they're doing due diligence. They ain't bought nothing yet. And like Tom said, we're getting ready, here, use it, do what you want, make money on it, even though they're not producing really anything for the residents. You know, and I just hope that when their times come up and the purchase dates come up, that, like we say, that it happens and they make the real investment they're supposed to make. Because I'm worried about, again, the future of it as a total and a whole. But again, I think we need to provide the residents with something to do down there, even if it is some food trucks on the water and a little horn blowing down there, you know. But I think it stinks, but that's just my opinion.
Earlier we were talking a little bit about lesser of evils, and I think that's kind of where we're at. We're so desperate to have something there that, stall tactic or not stall tactic, I mean, at least it's something down there.
Yeah.
I personally am sick of seeing it sit there, so I would love to see something down there and it be active. So
This is
I get your point.
innovative thinking. I mean, we're trying to draw attention to this. We're trying to create some activity. I understand what, you know.
But drawing attention for who? It's not Bristol, because they're not doing anything.
For the benefit of the city, I mean, the
Yeah.
benefit of the residents, this
Yeah.
citizenry. There's something that new there that's gonna draw attention to it.
No, I get it, yeah.
So,
I get that.
you know, I see it as like you said, it's a two-edged sword. It just needs, you just gotta decide which side is not the sharpest.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the other thing too is that in all these years, when other people could have come forward, nobody did.
I agree with that.
These are the first guys that
Yeah.
came forward with some kind of an idea. They're not gonna put a lot of money into it, obviously, because if things go the way they want to, they gotta put 7 feet of dirt on this site to do anything.
Yeah.
So anything they're gonna do now is gonna be ripped out and buried. So they're doing something, okay? And I guess I'd rather do something rather than sitting here doing nothing and
Nothing.
looking at the dirt for the last another 30 years.
Well, you know, we lost fish. You know, fish went out of business. It's sitting there vacant. We had this beautiful facility, this
Well,
great
thankfully, that's
building
gonna be
there.
remedied.
And it's a ghost town. Parking lots are empty. There's nobody out there. There's no activity. At least it'll bring some, you know, some
Forward
movement
motion.
down there. So I don't know. I just,
Well, we have a motion and a
sorry, Rob.
second. I think we're ready for the roll call.
Dan Schmidt,
Yes.
Scott Steger,
Yes.
Mark Bowling,
Yes.
Marie Mills Bennett,
Yes.
Bobo Famey,
yes.
Lance Green,
Yes.
Thomas Jordan,
No.
Motion passes.
Cool beans.
All right, commissioner comments. Anything for the greater good of the world, gentlemen? No?
I wish it would rain.
I'll just say it's lovely to see everybody again, a full panel and a reason for a meeting.
want it to be muddy, do you?
No, I just want it to be damp and have some water in the ponds.
Staff, you don't want to tell us about what's going in fish to relieve Bo's mind?
I already know.
I'm just trying to get him up here.
Tim Birmingham, yeah, basically, I believe it's called the Tiki Dock, is a
Yes.
the restaurant that's going in there is a group that is based out of Florida. I know they have a lot of Ford garages throughout the state of Florida, and this restaurant brand, they've got this restaurant over in Tampa and St. Pete, and they're bringing it over into the fish location there. So we spoke with them. They looked at basically initially just doing the rebranding here in terms of the signage being switched out with exterior signs, and initially just getting into the building then and kind of getting it going, and then seeing what kind of renovations to make after they get in there and use it then. Their target, I think, is fall of 2024 to open to the public then. So that is right around the corner
I
then.
wonder why it's so long.
With it, I think there's an auction that's going on in there with all the equipment
Oh.
in July,
really done.
Got it,
and then
got it, got it.
then they got to
Yes.
get in there and get their setup
Cleaned
there
up,
and
set up.
see
Yeah,
what they
that's
need to
true.
put in there to cook the food. So there, but
I'm
I
just
thi-
praying the food's better than Ford's Garage. Can we, is there anything we can do to help that?
I don't have
Stop
any.
being a foodie.
Yeah, really.
Stop being a foodie.
I don't like anything.
We don't have any requirements on that in the code there. But yeah, so that should be come in the fall then. Like I said, we work with them to see if get that as soon as possible
So
to open
we're
them.
going to work with them for tenant improvements to help them out that way. Or do you think there'll be a lot of tenant improvements? Or you
I think they said that they want to get in there still and kind of see what improvements need to be made then,
Okay.
and kind of operate then. So, but if they're
Well,
when
they
they're-
won't need tin kitchens like fish.
No. When there are tenants improvements to be made, I'm sure we'll basically work with them, and basically similar to any project down there, we will expedite those review and get done as quick as possible.
So you're saying they're auctioning off the stuff that's in there?
Yeah, and the
So-
newspaper
so-
article indicated that they're having an auction. I think it's next week.
So
I think-
you're right, Mark. It's like they're gonna go down there and take out the Ansel system and the hood or whatever.
Yeah.
So now you're into all that. That's
Yep,
Yeah.
so they'll have
permits and
Everything
everything
they
else.
because
Yeah.
the refrigerators are going, the grills are going.
I was
everything is-
almost disappointed I didn't have a catering company anymore because I heard that stuff's gonna be going for a good price.
Well, it sounded like these new guys are gonna be in there
Buying stuff.
bidding
Yeah.
too, because it's
Yeah.
an auction.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna go out there and get you guys
Yeah,
some
yeah,
chairs.
I would.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
That's a
would.
good point.
Heck
Don't
yeah.
touch his leave.
Yeah,
Then
I
you
think-
don't have to move it.
Well, the
So,
chairs,
yeah.
They should
tables,
take it
and
out, put it in the
chairs.
parking lot first, and say, "Here it is. This is what we're auctioning off."
So if you want to entertainment next week, there will be some activity down there. So
Maybe the circus caravan, like Robert said.
that's why we moved the planning
That's right.
commission up there. So you guys have a week to go down there for that day.
Silverware and everything.
Yeah.
All right, so we're good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
Any other public comments?
Good job.
Entertain a motion to adjourn?
Second.
I said entertain a motion. You gotta
Motion.
make the motion first, Lance.
Yeah, right, too.
You had this
Motion.
problem last time.
Second by Lance, motion by.
Meeting
See, if you get
adjourned.
the second
Yeah.
before the motion, then it's all good.